So right now I'm about to make some test clamps of different diameters just to see what is actually going to work better. Welcome and thanks for joining me. I'm finally back in the workshop after a few days off from being sick. My wife reckons it is the man flu, but some virus or something. It really threw me off. So it's not all bad news. In that time though, I did manage to get my Morse Taper 3 drill chuck, and very happy with that. That means I can use now my big lathe finally, instead of just taking a few cuts of practice. I can do some drilling and actually make some parts, which is good because I want to make clamps for my faceplate. So while I was resting, I guess I was thinking about the workshop and the work. What I realized is that I had made the nut at the back quite long, and it does come through the faceplate a lot. And I was thinking about this, and as the clamp is going to sit on top, I think the clamp should have more. It should have more of the space within that slot, just because if I have a screw holding everything together and I loosen it, and there isn't sufficient depth where the clamp is within that slot, it'll like pop out sideways, rotating, and it'll just be a bit annoying. So I'm going to split it down the middle, and they will get half the thickness each with a bit of a 1mm gap between the two parts.
I want us to stand our ground. There ain't nothing gonna
So this is pretty much the first time I'm using my big lathe to make some parts. And you know what? It's such a joy. And you know, this is also the biggest lathe that I've ever owned, the most powerful. My first lathe was the Proxxon PD400. The second one was the Myford ML7, and now this one. You know, it's a little bit scary, especially when I'm so used to working on the Cowells lathe, because you know, I'm used to getting in really close to the headstock, and you know, I can't do that with this lathe. So I have to be super careful, but it's such a pleasure to just take 3 mils off the diameter of mold steel in one pass. Like, I can get used to that real quick. So now I've got one holder here. Obviously, it's got a bit of wiggle room because the nut is oversized, but also I made a 20 mil. So this is a 25 mil diameter and this is a 20 mil. And basically I'm going to cut the top as well. I'm not going to leave it rounded like this. It's going to have more of the clamp style shape. Not exactly, but more of a clamp style shape. I'm going to put this back on the lathe, give a final pass on the surface, recess the hole for the bolt. It's actually looking pretty good. You might be wondering why it's a bit stepped like this. I have a flange for my fixture, so it's going to be roughly the same height as the flange for my fixture. So this will be a little bit less, so it can actually put force down onto it. But what usually happens, like if I don't have this flange, is that the clamp will actually tilt up, grabbing the flange, and I don't want that to happen. Usually people have to put screws to push down on the faceplate to make it flat. Pretty much, I think that's all I'm gonna get through tonight. I'm still feeling really lethargic. Back in the workshop tomorrow to continue making, finishing off the clamps and making more clamps. Hopefully, I'd like to have them finished this week. If I can, you know, sneak in on the weekend for a couple of hours, I might have it all finished this weekend. We'll see.